Hello and welcome to episode 110 of the Threatened Ganglia vodcast for Star Trek Discovery, Despite Yourself. We're here. I'm joined with...
Christina!
And I'm Adam, Corpulent Geek. And we are so very, very excited that the show is back from its winter hiatus.
Squee!
Yeah, it was a lot longer time.
Much squee! Oh my goodness, my
you do
computer
that every
should
week.
be...
Oh no, now I did it too. Oh no. That's not supposed to have happened. That's the first fail of the Klingon phone that I'm trying out for my brother on
We do podcasts.
Simply Your Device. Is that the same thing we said before when we did that?
Yes.
All right.
Because we do vlogcast.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here. Anywho, all right, so we missed you guys, and also, let me get right off at the beginning and make sure it's clear to everyone. This is going to be spoiler-filled. We're going to talk about everything that has happened. So if you haven't watched Star Trek Discovery Episode 10, the new one that just came out this past week, you're going to want to pause this. Don't close it or anything. Just pause, go watch it, and then cry for a little bit and yell and scream, and then come back and watch this, and then and then have a good life. What? No. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, and also we do have to apologize that we didn't do our Desperate Hours show like we wanted to do. But the good thing is that, like, that's more content that we'll have later, right? Because we only have like 5 more episodes of Star Trek.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. It made me sad
Oh, that is sad.
when I realized what it was.
Oh,
So
so much stuff.
yeah. And also I'm going to try and get a little bit better about putting down there in the bottom middle there which section of the vodcast that we're in. If you're listening to this later on podcast form, you can join us theoretically every Tuesday night. We're going to be sending out the show on YouTube. You can just search Corpulent Geek on YouTube and you'll be able to find us to get the live version, because then you get to see our sparkling faces and our ridiculous... What? Oh, you're pointing
The
to...
search bar's up there.
Okay. I was like, I thought you were just pointing to lights. I was like, what's happening?
Lights are good.
But anyway, yeah, so down in the middle, we're theming all our different parts of the show. And this one where we just start off the show is where we're clearing all moorings. But now we're going to go ahead and go all ahead full impulse. Right there. Very good. Good pointing. See, down and up is easy with the pointing. It's the this way and that way that's difficult with the pointing. Because it's all
Live
like...
chat's over there, and you're over there.
No.
Right? Damn it.
You said live chat's over there. I'm like, I don't know.
No,
I
it's
shut
over
off
there.
the live
Because
chat.
I was like, it's on the computer side, and then I pointed that way, but no, it's clearly not on my computer side.
Yeah.
Nerds. Love when I done that.
Anywho, so, and I actually hit the button that sent us to All Ahead Full Impulse, so the people are actually seeing that.
All right.
And All Ahead Full Impulse is where we're going to do quick beats on things that happened in this past week's episode. Not a full recap, because we get talky sometimes, and we just can't do a review discussion show that's longer than the show itself. It just seems wrong. It feels wrong. We shouldn't. No, we are not Kevin Smith. We cannot
no.
muster that much talking.
No.
So in this week though, I'm just going to quickly go over what we're going to discuss. The reminder about the spoilers, that there will be many, so please don't be upset. We're going to, of course, discuss the big 2 things about this week is the Mirror Universe and Ash Tyler and Vogue. Those are the 2 great big ones. I would also like to discuss how After Trek has become a necessity for people that like to do deep dives into the show, because they'll give you...
No, because we talk about it in that section.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
These are quick beats.
Yeah, quick beats.
Boom, boom, boom.
And if we haven't babbled too long, at the end, we will also talk about how much joy we're getting out of the good plotting that they're doing, the writers are doing.
We will gush effusively.
Yes. And we'll have to gush a little bit no matter what, because they deserve it. Yeah. So, all right. We are... hold on. I gotta hit this thing and then this thing and actually send us Now we're going to warp, where we have our nice longer discussions.
I do like how they go to warp in this one.
Yeah.
Suddenly.
Yeah, suddenly and jarringly. And that's not even talking about the jumps.
I like how they arrive from warp, too. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
That's multiple ships arriving from warp.
And so this is where we're going to spend most of our show, is the go to warp section, where we talk and discuss and break down different things that happen during the episode. After this, there's going to be a sometimes short spatial anomaly section, because you never know what you're going to come across, and that is geared just for any news that's not directly related to the show that might have come up since the last episode that we've done, about like the Star Trek in general, or the or actors on this show in particular. And the final section, which you might want to skip, because there are some people that don't enjoy diving deep and discussing theories about what's going to happen and picking apart things in a good way, picking apart, not the nitpicky way that I'm trying to not do as much of anymore. But that last section is going to be the Black Alert section, where we discuss all those theories and all. So if you come back later on, and down there in the bottom section it says Black Alert. Oh, look, I'm pointing the right way. It says Black Alert, and you don't like discussing theories and stuff, you're going to want to bypass that until we go to the end. I got to come up with some kind of good thing for the wrap up at the end. I just realized we don't have that. We'll figure it out. Anywho, so Mirror Universe stuff. Hun, what would you like to start off with?
Oh my gosh, I love everything. I know, it's so overwhelming.
I was like, oh no, I threw it to her and she
The gushing starts soon. We are in the Mirror Universe, and Lorca is clearly from here. That's clearly. The 9th episode ended with him with that final jump saying, "Let's go home," after he had overridden the coordinates. So,
yeah, we all know that I have been a big proponent of Lorca being from the Mirror Universe, but one specific thing happened in this episode that made me like rethink it possibly. If Lorca was as entrenched in the in the what's it called, the Terran Empire, as he was, he would have known that Tilly was captain of the Discovery, and I don't care what you say, he wouldn't have been able to fake that. That's absurd. That he delivered when it came up there on the screen. I know that he's been a very devious character and able to do stuff, but
yeah.
But that
have you seen all of the stuff he's been able to fake so far?
He has been able to do a really good job, but I mean, that was a really heartfelt, that's absurd, when that came up. So that's the only thing that has me like shaky in my thing. But I since I had a whole bit on it, if I was smart, I would have had a link down in the doobly-doo for that already. But
I appreciated so much in this. I mean, I love the, he is guiding them very well of like, okay, we're here and we need to survive, so we got to blend in. And they just went about making them the ISS Discovery and being like, all right, we fit in, nothing to see here.
Yeah,
and it's great. It's exciting. It was very much like, okay, now that we're here, now that it had been established that we're there in the Mirror Universe, and it is the Mirror Universe of what we have been familiar with throughout Trek canon. Mm-hmm. I did have a moment of like, well, now what? And so that this is what.
And now that they're here, it's like, yes, our theory is right.
Yeah, and I suspected that Tilly was going to be the captain. They had led on, and
I thought that was absurd as well.
Yeah, and it is because she was a cadet. She was the lowest, but it is the Mirror Universe, so
yeah.
That's what it means. It's a reflection. So
yeah,
I guess if she's ruthless enough and driven enough, then...
And she has definitely proven that she's a smart cookie, and she does definitely think a lot.
And she is determined, yeah.
Yeah, and theoretically, now, see, I'm backtracking already on something I said just before. She might have... I don't know how long she's been captain. Maybe she got to be captain after Lorca went to the universe that the show has been in so far. So maybe that explains it. Yeah, all right, I feel better already.
Done and done.
So did you see we had a disappointment in our chat Um, Krista is disappointed that there were no goatees, and she must have not looked closely enough at the preview for next week, because of course we saw Sarek with a goatee. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just a rule that it's just all the Vulcans. Because I
Yeah,
don't
maybe
know.
evil Vulcan or mirror universe Vulcans have goatees.
Yeah, maybe that's because to do my due diligence, I just rewatched the Enterprise Mirror episodes, and
Yeah, I did not get to that, which I was upset about, especially before coming on, because I know I've watched them. Enterprise is my least familiar series of all of them, and like
my,
I knew
my
it existed, but I know I need to go back, especially since it had been mentioned that watching that episode will explain why they're going to go and find the Defiant.
yeah, it really does explain a lot of stuff, and it's wonderfully cheeseball because I like bad movies and like B movies. And all, and there's definitely they ham it up quite a bit. But the thing I really liked in this one, I guess it's not really a spoiler alert, but it should be, I guess. There's a Gorn in it at one point, and they CGI'd the Gorn, and so he really looked like a big lizard guy.
Nice.
So it was pretty cool to see that. It's a far throw from the first original Gorn.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think the idea of a mirror universe is such an interesting one, and they do these ham it up moments because it's fun. It's fun when you've established characters and then you go against their type. Like you do, they have to act the opposite. It's fun to watch actors have to do that, to do both. It's always like
Yeah.
it also reminds me of like whenever I'm watching a show and characters switch consciousness or something, and the actor has to now put on the affectation of the other actor of the
those
other
are fun.
character. Like those are fun. They're fun to watch, and so Mirror Universe is always fun. But on a more on a deeper level, it's also what we do. Like we do that as humans to think about like well, what if I were different? What especially for things that we want to be. Like Tilly probably, as she said, like this is everything I wanted. It just wasn't how I wanted to go about getting it. And so we kind of do those exercises in our head about getting to the goals we want to achieve. And if you
What we have to do to get there.
if we
and
really
risk.
if you really have imagination and you really do a lot of thinking, you think of like different ways. You think of all the different ways, and then you kind of choose based on how you would be comfortable getting there. And so I think that's what makes these mirror universes so fun. This is definitely, I mean, the whole show is definitely not as, I don't want to use the word campy, because I love all of Star Trek, but this has definitely been the grittiest. And
The original part of the show, you mean, even before they got to the
yeah,
Mirror
like the
Universe.
Discovery
Yeah.
itself has been the grittiest, and
Yeah,
so
so
like
the Mirror
this Mirror
Universe
Universe is going to be
less campy
because of that. But they still managed to highlight humor. I mean, Tilly was I mean, oh god, she was fantastic. I mean, that actress is
Mary
spot
Wiseman.
on. Yeah, she
Yeah,
has,
her comedic chops are formidable.
Yeah.
Her timing and everything, and just
Yeah.
the way.
she does awkward so well. It's just so well.
Yeah. The way when she's sitting in the chair and Lorca tells her just don't talk a lot, and she's like, "That's what I do."
I don't know if you know this about me, but I tend to do that a lot.
Yeah. So aside from Tilly being the captain on the Discovery, and that seeming implausible, that we also had, who was just a few months before that, an ensign is in charge of the Shinzo. I'm never going to say the name of that ship right. Shinzu. So he was an ensign, and he skyrocketed it up to captain. So I guess if you're willing to kill enough people, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, after Cadet Tilly being Captain Tilly, it's like, sure, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyone. And I mean, they needed to pick out each character on the Shenzhou that we saw later, like, had represented something to Michael. And so, like, we had seen Connor. She had
Yeah.
personally seen him get blown out of the ship and die. So then we had to encounter him in the mirror universe. Detmer had been injured, and so we find her on Discovery later. And so that was that was kind of like the representative. She was resentful of Burnham because she has been physically changed, and that was as a direct result of what Michael did, but not really, because that's the only part of the show that drives me crazy. But I understand why they've set it up that way.
Yeah.
And I also, I mean, that's moving on. I think I see kind of where they're going based on how they set it up, and that's
we'll discuss
again,
things in the Black Alert section.
Yeah.
More about this. So hopefully that doesn't disjoint this conversation too much, but you know, we want to leave some of that stuff out for people that don't want to get all that. So, and yeah, I'm a fan of the Mirror Universe for all the reasons that you said. But there's a group of people out there that don't like it because they think that it's just weak storytelling. It's a way just to be able to tell an easy story. Oh, we just have the complete opposite of everyone and just throw everything in there. And it's like, well, that's kind of interesting. And
yeah, I find that interesting.
Something we'd like to explore. So, and there's going to be a lot more discussion about the Mirror Universe in that Black Alert section. So that's why this one might seem a little bit shorter. We're actually doing pretty good on time. We haven't babbled too much relentlessly about ridiculousness. Anything else we want to touch on before we move on?
Specifically from the Mirror Universe?
Oh, wait, yes, sorry. I forgot. See, I'm all over the place. Now we're going to derail, and you're going to come back, and it's going to be Thursday. I love this one's click subscribe, hit the bell. The part when they're redoing the ship, when they decided they need to become the ISS Discovery, I absolutely loved how it looked like they just ran a Zamboni across 2/3 of the U just to make it into the ISS Discovery. That part I really enjoyed. And the I like the fact that also this harkens into the after Trek discussion, but people had, like, I know Tilly had and a bunch of other people had all these different little badges on their uniform, little tokens, and the writers and everyone, they went through and they made up a specific story for each of them, and like that's this one, Master of Poisons and 50 kills and all different kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that like D&D nerds love doing. Like I always remember one of my favorite things in D&D was sitting down and making a little town. And so you can just come up with everything that's in that town, and you just go, and all of a sudden you have a notebook half full of information and all. And so that's what I'd like to do someday. But anyway, So no, we'll leave that for Black Alert. I don't want to go off too much. All right, so Voke and Tyler.
I was right.
All right, well, but
I mean, also,
like,
much of the internet as well.
Yes, 85% of the people that watch the show were on board.
But I was right too.
Yeah,
and I said it on camera.
yeah, that's true. You did commit to it.
I have to say, and I know it's a lot of gushing, and there's going to be gushing throughout, and we'll really gush again at the end. But again, talking about After Trek, I feel very in tune with the show. I feel in tune with the producers. I know, remind me his name again, Mark? No.
Aaron Harbers.
I was nowhere close. I'm sorry, Aaron. He was talking on After Trek, and almost word for word things that I had said before. We did the big Vok Tyler discussion in our last episode, which I've rewatched just to remind myself what I said. And I even had said there that his flashbacks are being presented to us, and especially in episode 9, had been presented to us one way, and that sometimes when a character is remembering, we start to re-see those flashbacks like with more truth in them. So like he was seeing them originally through the eyes of someone suffering from PTSD from having been tortured. But as he is awakened, because he is Vok, and I know they didn't necessarily specifically say that, but of course he is Vok.
As soon as he
and
was
his voice
talking,
is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because we did go back and rewatch all of the episodes because we
Yeah,
really
I
like this
think
show.
maybe they only put in half of the prosthetics because
Oh yeah,
the
yeah. He
second time I
definitely had
listened,
to
he
have
sounded
gone
cleaner.
into a sound booth and had prosthetics in his mouth to
Well, yeah,
say
but
his
not
lines.
all of them. He did sound a little bit cleaner
Well,
with
because
it.
his equipment is human now,
Right,
so
his
he was
equipment.
well, yeah, his vocal equipment. What?
I'm here to
I
have
mean,
my
probably all of
equipment
his
patched
equipment,
up.
but you know.
Hey, can I get an upgrade on this equipment? Do you like the Michael Jackson or the Prince?
And so I'm sure that when he was saying the response to the prayer, that he had his, they had to dub with some of that prosthetic in his mouth.
Maybe that's why it didn't work all the way because he heard his half of it uh, from a weird mouth.
Weird mouth. So yeah, that was just, it was all right. So anyway, Aaron did mention that if we continue to pay close attention to his flashbacks, that they will start to reveal more of a complete picture. And so
That's why you meant by that text the other day when you were watching. Okay. I still
I was
never
just sending
understood
random like reactions
Yeah.
because I was watching After
Oh my
Trek the
God!
day after, and I was like, yeah, that was what I meant. Like he said almost word for word something that I had said before, and so I think that's truly what's going to happen because of course it didn't work exactly as Laurel wanted, where it just like you say the words, flip a switch, and now you're Winter Soldier. It didn't work that way. It something didn't work quite right, and so now he's got this like, he's still Tyler, but he's got these like reactions and instincts that are Volk coming through, and
Well, so all right, so he is Volk. He's Volk's body, Volk's brain, and they just layered Tyler, who
Tyler's
was a member of Starfleet that they captured, that they used one of the Klingon brain sucker out things that they've had before on the show, and just layered Tyler on top.
yes,
Okay.
and that way they got around the test that that Starfleet had. I mean, I really appreciate them. I appreciate them trying to like check every box.
Yeah.
Like people being like, "Why couldn't you detect this?" It's the 20 whatever century. And Dr. Culber listed like we have the Manchurian test, but you hear him say like we're testing for brainwashing and we're testing for for engrams being implanted inside a personality, but what they were not testing for is that the personality that they were talking to was layered on top of a Klingon, like of a non-native. Like they were testing for Ash Tyler and not for Vogue, and that's why all those tests passed, because he wasn't Ash Tyler. It was not, that wasn't real. And so I thought that was really neat, and it was, I mean, it was fantastic that Culber was able to discover everything, and then it was suddenly not fantastic.
Yeah, no,
It was
and the
horribly not fantastic.
the one part of Volk's programming that absolutely worked is whenever someone shows you that they think that you're not who you think you are, you kill them.
Yeah.
Because as soon, like this time on the rewatch that I did, like as soon as he said, I don't even think you are who you think you are, like immediately just boom, and it happened. Like I didn't hear the words at that point because I was like, oh, this isn't gonna go good.
Yeah. So that was startling and gasp worthy, and oh no, and all of the things that I said, and I was very, very sad. And then I watched After Trek, and now I'm not as sad, which is good.
Yeah. So, but we won't talk about that here because that'll be in the Black Alert section.
Okay.
Because not everyone watches that, right? Yeah, no. But also like Culber needs to get his head out of books, or should have gotten his head out of books a little bit and read a little practical living, that if you're about to say to someone, I don't think you are who you think you are,
you have security with you, and then behind a field screen.
Oh, and but like you and I were talking before, and it was like, Culber thinks about it, and he's like, yeah, and he's talking to him, he's not paying attention, he hits the button for security, and the little badge on Tyler's thing goes off. He's like, you're calling security now? What's happening? I'm security chief. You know that, right? So that would have been humorous.
So there, that's a thing. I mean, it's going to be devastating to Michael. I mean, there's so much drama.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
so just
yeah, it built into this act now, and even in the previews, like it's still going to be very sad. There's Stamets hugging Culber, sitting on the ground, and I mean that's devastating. And it's fun, and then he kills Culber, and then walks right out and beams aboard the Shenzhou with Burnham, and it's like, okay.
yeah. I wonder what happened after that scene because I paid attention. Like he killed him. They snapped over to Paul Stamets, and Tyler was still in the background, looking like he was still in his fugue state or whatever from snapping the neck, and then they cut away to commercial. So I'm interested to see what happened immediately following that. Like, was Tyler back and there was a dead body laying at his feet, or what's going on there? Because also when she was rousing, when she, being Laurel, was rousing Vok out of Tyler, he had the thing where he said the words back to her, and then she asked him, "Who are you?" and he like blacked out, and all of a sudden he was on the other side of the room,
Yeah.
by the door. So I wonder what happened during that sequence. There, like, because something happened because they were in that embrace, and like he took one step back and was saying the words, and then all of a sudden he was on the other side of the room, looked like he was facing the door.
Yeah, and
like
she was
trying
asking him to
leave.
say his other name.
Yeah.
Like she's still trying to get him out.
Yeah, so
Um,
I would like to hear what went on during that, and I'm sure it's going to be in a flashback thing that they've been doing a good job with. But one thing that got dropped during the episode, that I think is going to come back into play, right at the end when Burnham goes back into her quarters, wherever it was she was going, and Tyler was there, and she was surprised. He mentioned that, yeah, I know all the security codes. I know everyone's on the ship, so it's like, oh, that's true, and it's not going to be good because he is bad guy. Where'd that sound come from? Oh. Ah,
a
nice.
monitor that's still in my pocket.
Oh, our poor
I
baby.
did a good job of leaving that with a friend.
It's all good. But oh, yeah. So since we're at a nice point right here, we have been negligent about something very important. Showing off your
we
shirt.
do have a question. Oh yeah, about Tyler and Laurel.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. Yes, she's one of the
I
lucky
mean,
people.
as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Yep, want."
Yeah, apparently there's
Take my money.
a big long delay on those now.
All right, you had to jump when the iron was hot.
Yeah.
And it was like phone out, do, order, let's go, do
All
the
right.
thing.
So we have questions.
Yes.
Sorry, I was not paying attention.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's why there's two of us.
So why didn't Tyler kill Laurel when he held a phaser towards her when encountered her in the brig? All right. So Tyler killed Laurel when he held because he was messed up mentally. He was like suffering from the PTSD, but that's not what it is anymore. It's PTSS.
Oh yeah, I know they have changed it. It's
sorry.
syndrome. I think it does end in
Yeah.
S.
But yeah, I think it was a convenient way of storytelling to not kill her instantly. And like as soon as he saw her, all those memories came flooding back in. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
could
sure
see-
he just froze, and like that mental freeze is something that's incredibly hard to overcome.
I couldn't.
And I'm
understand
sure,
it, so.
like, because then that would put his personality at war. Like, his instinct is like, friend, and even though his, layered over personality is like no enemy, since his base is Vok, then you tend to not go against your instincts.
Yeah. Well,
Some of us do.
yeah. But and also it can just be plain old like because there's been plenty of times, unfortunately, in my life, like things much less serious, and I just freeze up.
Much less serious than the woman I thought who was my torturer shows up.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I mean, I hate when I run into my torturer.
yeah,
Drives me crazy.
She may
And
be on
then
this
all of a sudden
podcast
I
with
feel
me.
like maybe she's not my torturer. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I think I got that through. Yes. Anyway, watch the recap. So thank you for the question, Derpy Trekker. I like that name, but not Derpy, but as long as you're taking that okay. I call myself a corpulent geek, and I mean it in fun. So people would be like, "Don't call yourself that." Like, it's way better than fat nerd. Anyway,
Tomato,
uh,
tomato.
yeah. So, and Krista mentioned once again the mess of human personalities interferes with a dastardly plan. Yeah, that's some personality and emotions. He said no good.
Emotions. Shh.
So there has to be other things about with the before we get to Black Alert section that we wanted to.
You didn't note that
I did.
when the first time after Tyler had been awakened, or Valk had been awakened, he walks onto the bridge,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah. My
Saru's-
favorite.
I'll let you talk about it. He's your favorite character.
No, thank you. I'm sorry. So much so we named this vodcast after his threat ganglia.
True.
Yeah, I was happy with the fact that they deployed after he was awoken. And then not only did they deploy, but they like popped out of there like champagne corks.
Yeah.
I think there was an audible.
Boing!
Yeah.
And he's like, "What is going on?"
Yeah. So that's going to be a thing now. And I actually last night I was having tons of trouble falling asleep last night thinking about this show like an idiot. And I actually had a thought of writing like a little short story thing with Saru and how he felt coming to the mirror universe and that block of time leading up until Tyler and them got sent off the ship, and him talking about even my threat ganglia is all dorked up. It's been going off for no good reason when there's nothing happening around, but luckily that's gotten under control since we've been here now for a couple hours, and I haven't had a problem with it since Burnham's gone on to the thing, and he would term it that way. But yeah, so that's just me because I'm a dork for several.
Headcanon.
Yeah, which we'll talk more about later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So did that cover our?
No, you very emphatically typed Tyler knows all the security codes.
Yeah, that was the thing I just wanted to mention about.
Because he said security.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is exactly where you want your
And
sleeper agent to be.
Yeah. Well,
Come on.
yeah,
They're no dummy.
They did a good job with that.
They did. They picked the right
Yeah,
one. They
so
knew he was going to be. They didn't pick the cook.
Right. Although, was it in the cook in the Hunt for Red October that was the KGB spy?
Yes, because in real life you want to pick the cook.
And in
That's
Under
the last place
Siege,
you look.
Under Siege was he was the cook, right? Steven Seagal.
True again.
See? Ah,
So maybe it would have been a trope to pick the cook.
there you go. Anywho. All right, so now we're gonna discuss After Track a little bit.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Did you have anything you would like to lead us off with about having to watch After Track if you're a deep diver?
I definitely suggest it. I think they are doing an excellent job. I think I've said that 5,000 times about everything in the show. And I really was thinking hard about why I do enjoy it. Because I haven't really gotten into a lot of after shows, which is a new thing in the last couple of years where everything gets an after show. I guess it started with The Walking Dead getting its after show. And then, Game of Thrones had one. And I mean, seriously involved in Game of Thrones, but the after show just wasn't really doing it for me. And I think part of the reason was a lot of those, at least Game of Thrones, I mean, I haven't watched all of them, but they feel much more just like fans, like, we just watched this movie or the show and it's great, and you watched it and you liked it and that's great, and we're all here being excited. But I feel that After Trek is really well ensconced with the production, and so they give Matt Myra a lot of content to work with, and they really do support the viewer. Like, they tell you other episodes of Star Trek to watch. When they were teasing the mirror universe throughout, they were like,
they
you
give
should
you like
watch
homework assignments.
They
wasn't it, or
do
something?
give you homework assignments, and I kind of like that, because if you if you want like a study guide, if you want to be able to immerse yourself in this universe, and if if you can't remember every episode of all the Star Trek, which only I'm sure a few of us can. I think it really helps, and I think Matt Myra is doing a fantastic job as host. I've
Yeah, he
always
keeps
kind of
getting
liked
better
him.
all the time. Yeah,
And
I've
yeah,
liked
in the
him since
beginning it was
Nerdist
it was
podcast and all.
clunky, but as they hit their stride and as the show, just giving us so much stuff to be like about, I think that he keeps the really goofy things to a minimum, and
Yeah, but he still gets him in there.
he still gets them in there. But
nicely.
I like Matt. That's cool about him.
Yeah, one thing I definitely feel is that CBS is giving more advanced tidbits to the After Trek show because they're trying to push the streaming network. So they're trying to give you more stuff that's only available there, so that you'll come on.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like they have better support from the production
yeah,
than maybe some of the other after shows do, and they always have guest stars. They always have people from the show on, which is cool because then you get to see what they think about the episode and how they feel about being a part of the show. And it of course has all been overwhelmingly positive, but it's fun. I mean, Matt does a great job of playing the fan and the audience, even though he has, well, I mean, he does a great job of asking the questions. But like this last one, the producers were on, and they had been on before, and he does do a good job of just kind of being like, this was great, and now tell us about this thing, and they can knowingly look, but they don't just skirt all the questions. They do give answers, and they the things they want to keep secret, they keep secret, and most of the actors are really good about not going into that territory, and for the things that they want you to know that they think will enhance the viewing, they tell us, and I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, it still harkens back to the whole Vogue Tyler thing with how much they were like sticking with that nope, nothing, nope. And when it would come up in comment, like it came up on After Track a couple times, it was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you mean? Who is Tyler? He was a prisoner.
Yeah,
they rescued him, and Lorca was like, "Hey, I could use this guy because that's what he's good at."
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good.
Yeah, and remembering all the security codes.
Well, Tyler,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, and did you notice that? Well, I don't even know if there was anything to give it away, but if you follow them on Twitter, they actually pre-taped this After Trek. It wasn't a live version. I feel like all the other ones were truly live ones because they
didn't do trivia on this one, did they?
Yeah, they didn't do trivia.
Yeah, that's right.
And because they had those couple hiccups, technical hiccups. When some of the writers were on and they were trying to do it and they couldn't
Skyping.
get the audio down. Yeah, they were Skyping. So they did away with that, and they did away with the and they like pre-taped it.
Do you think they'll pre-tape all of them?
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe at least the ones that they don't have to have a live feed to someone else. But then even if they have that, they should pre-tape those because then you'll get good. Like there might have just been a decision. So they might have taken out a little bit of that interactive aspect.
Yeah, and I did kind of like that.
Yeah, because actually, like, I saw it on Twitter that, I forget who tweeted it, that they just got done taping After Trek, and I was like, I didn't know that those weren't live. And then I was like, all those times we did all those trivia things, they just made up who was winning. That's not right.
That's not cool, man.
And all those percentages, they just put in there whatever the hell they wanted. Flip the table. But no, maybe they.
Yeah, and he didn't read as many tweets. Like he read some things, but he said, "Here's what you had been saying since the last episode." It was a very like broad window. They just went in and pulled some things out. So, and he didn't because he would constantly say in the past one like, "Send us your tweets, and we may read it on air. Like we're live here with you." And so like I don't know. I think I'm 50-50 on that. Like because there was only one or two times I think we watched After Trek. In the time where we were watching live. And I did enjoy trying to do the trivia, and I did tweet. I think the last episode we were all like about it, and I was tweeting constantly to see if I could get up online, and did not. No. But I could take it or leave it because we're busy, tired people on Sunday nights.
Of course, now every guest that's going to be on that's an actor, we're going to be worried that they die that week. Right?
I don't know.
I mean, it could happen.
I don't know. Our friend who's visiting said, "No, I guess this is Black Alert. I have to talk about that in
All
Black
right.
Alert. I'll
Yeah,
tell that story later."
let's pull it back. All right. So, have we covered all the stuff from our notes? Do we have time to talk about the good plotting and fawn a little bit about how we were appreciative? Oh, she's singing. I guess maybe that's a no.
I don't even know what I was singing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was singing the Vlog Brothers podcast. I was singing the
Great. All right.
just stuck in my head.
Come on. Let's rein it back in.
I was
Star
trying
Trek.
to figure out where I was going to talk about what they told us to read on After Track, but that's Spatial Anomaly Detected because that's where we talk about not exactly
yeah.
show stuff.
All right.
So
Hey, look at
then
that. We got
I
something
am
in that
done
section.
talking about After Track, but good on you. Keep going.
Oh, well, I'm good with After Track. I was saying if we wanted to talk about
Yes.
how. All right, so we were both pleased so far this season with how they're giving us stuff for us to be us being the fans to be able to work on as theories about things, but I don't feel like they're being 100% obvious with it. There are some people out there that are poo-pooing everything, of course, because they're like, "Oh, well, that was so obvious, so who cares about that?" Blah, 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 blah. But they're getting stuff that's out there, and some of the clues are a little bit more obvious, but they're still doing things.
I
Uh,
I really got to thinking, like, do people always want to be completely surprised? Like, do you just want to
No.
be watching a show and it just constantly, a barrage of just like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming.
No, the people want to S on things that people like.
Okay.
And they want to seem like they're better than everyone else and know that, like, be like, yeah, I knew that all along.
Don't do that, people.
Yeah, that's no fun. I'm willing to admit that my weird theory that Lorca wanted to get Burnham because she was the leader of the Klingon Empire in the Mirror Universe. I'm willing to admit that seems like it's probably entirely incorrect, but I still feel that
She's important.
she's important to his stuff. I was just a little
Yeah.
distracted.
Yeah. No, I have enjoyed the balance of,
But
foreshadowing, and I mean those are good. Those are good literature. Oh gosh, the words just left my head. Those are
words.
good literature words.
They write good words
Things
and
and
story.
Those are good mechanics. Those are good storytelling mechanics. Like they hang a gun on the wall in plays because it's gonna get used, and that can be ominous, or that could be heartening, or that depending on what the circumstances. And I think that they have done a phenomenal job, and I feel like they've written fantastic characters, and they told the story from a point. With the 2 episodes in the beginning, they set the things up that needed to be set up. They had mentioned on After Track that they were originally supposed to go to the Mirror Universe earlier, but they realized that they needed more time to establish these characters so that when you meet their Mirror Universe, alter egos, that it's jarring, or it is you can see what the difference is. Like you feel like those characters, so now how they would act in the Mirror Universe, or you can take pleasure, and you can be fun like Tilly had to be, or you can be devastated, or whatever we encounter.
Because otherwise you're just kind of assuming that, well, they're in the Federation on our side, so they just got to be good, but you don't really know
and
how
that I
outlandish
think
it is for Tilly to be captain.
I think that is what, I mean, it lends to a thing we'll discuss later, but having a mirror universe doesn't necessarily mean original universe good, mirror universe bad if you are a Terran, if you're from Earth, because you're in the Federation in one and Terran Empire another. You can have bad guys in the original universe who are good guys in the Terran Empire universe, and that's what's interesting, and that's all I'll say for right now.
All right, so if I were Vulcan, Vulcans don't have beards, because I was wondering what kind of facial hair I would have in the Mirror Universe if I were Vulcan, because here I
have a goatee.
Well, but here
you
I
wouldn't
had
have a beard here.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Damn my non-Vulcan heritage. All right. So.
I
yeah, but
how they're weaving this story. It's
Yeah, I feel like they're doing a great job of giving us some stuff to come up with, but I think I just realized why I dislike Sherlock like I do. It's because
Out of
I
nowhere.
hate it when like they pull something out that you had no idea of knowing, and saying like, haha, that's why this thing is the thing, because they always have those segments during Sherlock where it's like he picks up on hair fibers on the thing, and it's like you can't see that if you're watching the show that he has hair fibers on his jacket there. And I understand it's supposed to make him, the Sherlock, seem super smart and everything, but for us, when you're watching TV, you need something like there and obvious enough, not with like glowing lights and pointers to it, but you need a little bit of help. And in chat, my brother just got here and he said what I miss, and everything. Sorry, we figured out all of Star Trek.
Sorry, Mike. Yeah,
We figured out and won Star Trek.
we won Star Trek. Yes.
Anyway, all right. So let's move on to our next section, which is going to be the dreaded spatial anomaly. All right, that was weird. We're never doing that part again. All right. So, Christina, you had something you wanted to discuss.
I did. I found out that you were telling me, no, I didn't find out that you were telling me over the break. You sent me a couple of tweets about this guy who happened to have the
guy.
name Paul Stamets and was a mushroom scientist, a mycologist. And I was like, what? Okay, that's kind of cool. What a coincidence. I didn't quite grasp that you
what
were
I was
telling
meaning?
me, that this is the Paul Stamets. Like, we have Paul Stamets,
Yes.
the engineer, the astromycologist, because of this Paul Stamets. And so I was like, wow. And then in After Track, they mentioned him, and in relation to something else we'll talk about in Black Alert. And then they mentioned his book, or one of his books, because then of course I went on to try and find it, because I'm like, I'm going to read this book, because Aaron,
That's what she does.
Aaron,
is
the
read
producer,
books.
told me to read a book, and I was like, I'm going to read the book then.
She reads the books and then doesn't do podcasts about them.
I'm sorry. Which one of us is the producer? Yay!
Cut.
Oh no!
Oh no, we're losing your camera, hun. We're sorry. Nice. We both had the same idea. Excellent. All right.
I mean, they are actually basing this far out science on kind of real science, which I do appreciate, and I appreciate the effort. I mean, obviously there's great leaps taken, but I'm interested to know more about fungus. I know that sounds so weird, but having an interest in a wide variety of things, and science being one of them, and knowing a little bit about what they have recently been discovering about fungus, and how it can communicate over great lengths. Like, plants really do communicate, and they communicate over a lot of distance. I mean, it's a little M. Night Shyamalan. The trees are trying to kill us.
Never saw it.
Okay, which one was that?
I
don't know.
The treening.
And spoiler, the trees did it.
Oh shit.
Uh,
Well, all right. I don't feel bad about that. That's been years.
it has been
So.
years.
Bruce Willis is dead the whole time.
Oh my God! You said it right out loud.
I did, and it's live.
Shit,
I'm sorry.
It's having this network that stretches, in our case across the earth, and
Inside the earth.
Yes, throughout the earth, and they've taken that idea and turned it into this network that stretches throughout the fabric of universes, of all of the universes. And I think that's fascinating, and it's pretty awesome. And then they just named the guy right after him, and I was like, that's cool.
It
It's
is very
cool
cool.
because they're
Science?
yes, they're trying to get people even more interested in how our real life works, because our real life is kind of just as fascinating as the fiction we can base on it.
Yeah.
So I will be reading that book, and I probably will mention it a couple times as we go along, and they try and explain more fungus-based astroscience to us in the show, and then I'll tell you if you should run out and buy it and learn more about the mushrooms.
That's
that
going
you
to be a
eat.
hard sell.
So
Maybe we
I
can
thought
get
that was really
a
cool.
2-pack, the Desperate Hours book and the Fungal Network book.
I think the book that they recommended was Mycelium Running: How Mushrooms Can Help Save the World. But he has many books,
Yeah, he's
and
very prolific.
Yeah, he's very prolific. And you had mentioned that he
Yeah, it's odd because when a couple months ago when I heard about Discovery and like I don't know how in depth the stuff went, but I definitely heard the words mycelial network in with like pre-show stuff, and I found it weird because in my other life I'm a gardener, and I've been getting into reading about permaculture and all different kind of aspects of soil. And there's been a lot of research lately with all the mycelial network in the earth and the things that fungus does, and how the trees can actually communicate in the forest, and how a tree over here on the left side of the forest can be getting attacked by bugs, and so it'll send out a little alert into the fungal network, and the other trees that are close by will start emitting whatever it is defense that that tree has against that bug, like engage the nasty smelling leaves, and that stuff goes out, and so they're seeing that stuff like this really happens, and when you're done being freaked out about it, you're like, damn, that's pretty cool. They had the internet long before we did. So I found it really interesting that I was starting to get into all this stuff and stuff about soil health and all, and then all of a sudden they're talking about mycelial networks, and I was like, whoa, it's blowing my mind. So now if you're going to read those books, you're going to get all sucked into permaculture way more. Also, and like so much so, our backyard, we've had loads of wood chips delivered, and they've been laying there, and just the fungus network that must be underneath in our backyard is going to be fantastic. I want them to come here and do a shot, like use special effects or something for the show. It could happen. Shut up.
We've grown some pretty significant mushrooms back there.
Yeah, we do. But also, like, I don't know if you've dug through that wood chip pile, but I mean, it's gorgeous when you go and you dig your hand in there a little bit and pull back, and you just see all the little white, the white hairs going through everything. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So that was what I learned this week. That is, tangential to our show.
And that's kind of all we got this time, because I personally was trying to stay away from any news about Star Trek thing during the hiatus, because I didn't want to get sucked into that, like, missing it too much thing.
I didn't want to miss you too much.
Yeah.
I had to insulate my heart.
Yeah, you know why I push down my emotions. Now, watch out. I got to keep that one single tear inside. All right. Okay, so are we ready? We're ready to jump to Black Alert.
Black Alert. Black Alert. Black Alert.
At some point, I'm going to take a week off of work and
Command
just get
stations.
all the sounds and everything, and get them in overlay them so we can do it.
Added production value.
Yeah. Well, I'm all psyched up now because I just got a alert on one of my YouTube videos, and back episode 7 when they had the party, the disco party.
That's right.
I went, and I'm a Mystery Science Theater fan, and the Space Mutiny episode of Mystery Science Theater, when they had the dance number, it just reminded me and synced up well with that party that they were having. So I went and I took clips and I interspliced them and threw them up there, and I got a copyright warning about it. And they say it was fine because I'm not monetizing anything, but I felt great because it said a manual check of the thing. So I'm like, someone at YouTube had to watch that video. It made me so happy. You can look on my page and find it somewhere. It's in there. It's like less than a minute. But if you haven't seen Space Mutiny, don't bother, because you'll be like, what's happening? But rightfully so. Now, granted, this shouldn't have been the Black Alert section.
You know what else I would like to mention in what are we in, spatial? Oh no, we just entered Black Alert. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's no going back.
Oh no.
We got the hell out of there.
Oh shoot.
Should we go back? I bet
No,
I can.
it was nothing. I mean, I really actually just wanted to
Are
give
we
it,
not even going to talk about it?
No, I'm going to say it.
Oh,
I just
okay.
wanted to give a shout out to Swear Trek. If you
Ah.
follow on Twitter at Swear Trek, because those are some good GIFs.
Yeah.
Or GIFs. Whatever you prefer, they're good.
GIFs. This house is Jif house. It's an over toilet paper and Jif house.
It is absolutely an over toilet paper, and graphic interface starts with a G. That's all I'm gonna say.
Really? I can't believe we're having this discussion live. Our marriage is falling apart live on the internet.
10 years of marriage, and gifts kill it. It's all good.
No,
repair it, don't worry.
no, it's not all good. Worry. I hope my mom's going to bed. Anyway, all right. So Black Alert. This is the part of the show where we talk about our wild theories and speculations, and also like any things that we might have heard out on the internet that like wasn't supposed to leak or something like that. So you've been warned. Black Alert.
Too much of that has happened.
Damn. Over
Black Alert.
there.
Black Alert.
Yeah, you got it easy. Just
I do,
because
I am positioned right over it.
and let me tell you, I use this software called Game Show to put this out. Plug to them. Not that they're paying me, but they should have. But my next thing is to find a way to make that Black Alert flash
Nice.
at the bottom, so then people know.
Yes.
It's not that it's really that important.
We're killing our brother.
Yeah, but he's going to be really upset because I'm moving in with him when you and I divorce.
Were you gonna live up in his studio?
Yeah. I'll take my green screen with me, and yeah, we'll have crazy YouTube videos then. You're not getting half the green screen.
We'll split the green screen.
No.
We cut it in half, and so now I get half and you get half.
No.
You know, if you're nice, I'll give you the half that's already fixed on the bottom.
I don't believe we're doing this. All right. Oh, look at this. We're over an hour. Sorry, we got to go.
No, nuts.
All right.
Gosh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We were doing so good.
I love this show so much.
And then I started talking about Space Mutiny, and everything ran off the rails.
Yeah.
No, it was
Mushrooms
gift.
and Space Mutiny, and that was the end.
Yeah, it really was the mushrooms. All right. So, you didn't add anything to the Black Alert section. But
I have something.
all right, go for it. I was not yet ready to talk about it.
I think Lorca is a good guy.
No.
What? I think he is. I think,
Well-
and this is, I love the idea very much so, because I think like that would be so cool. Because he was set up and painted as this master manipulator who could say just the right thing. He could read people so that he could play on their motivations and their emotions. And so you're like, clearly bad guys do that. And you're led to believe that he blew up his complement of crew on the Baran, but now maybe he didn't at all, and he just popped through to this universe, and this is the mirror universe. Lorca and the real Lorca the prime
No,
universe.
we can call him real.
Yeah, the real Lorca did die with the ship, and so he's just been painted that way. But no, I think that it would be fascinating to think that he worked so hard because he was trying to save the rebels and his people in his universe, and that was what his motivation was. He was extra driven to do that. He wasn't driven for personal reasons of just getting back to his universe. Like, he found himself there and he was like, oh shit, I gotta get back, what can I do? He went over there and had a specific reason, and the reason might have been to pick up Burnham and to bring her back. I think that is looking, I think, very possible.
All right.
That's
All
my
right.
thought.
So I have a question for you then.
Yes.
On the good guy scale, man, I cropped myself too much. I like, and my hands aren't anywhere. So now the good guy scale is this big.
Scale. On the good guy scale, from eyeball to eyeball.
Yes, that's as far as you can go. All right. So from the good guy scale of over here, being 100% virtuous, and he was always a good guy in the mirror universe, and he got to where he is, deceiving everyone in the hunt to help his people, to over here that he was just like a common evil person in the mirror universe, and he was shown the good way and realizes the way they've been living was crappy. At what stage of that goodness do you think he was? Like, do you think that he, like, all the way going through to coming up into being a captain, he was evil and did all the killings and all the stuff? Or And then at some point something happened where he saw the error of his ways.
You're talking about like in his life before he
Got brought
popped
over.
through
Yeah.
the universe.
Yeah.
That's
Or
a good question, but I think what I am loving about this show is that it is showing you that people are complex and there are complex motivations, and that's why I feel his coup that what is recorded is his attempted coup on the emperor of the Terran Empire wasn't a traditional like I'm gonna do a coup because I want to be the leader.
I want to seize power.
I want to seize power. I think it was more of an overthrow that was just recorded as a coup. That's just whatever that they found. So I think that kind of like wow, my brain in Rogue One. It's been a few months since I've watched it.
No.
Who's
What
our
happened?
spy? Who's our lead spy in Rogue One?
Cassian.
Cassian.
Sorry, I didn't know
The
where you were
theme
going.
there was, he had done many bad things for a very good cause. I think Lorca is a complex person who is capable of doing what he has to achieve goals that are ultimately what you would call on the good side of the scale. It doesn't involve debasing people and killing your way to get through the ranks.
So you kind of think he was kind of always good, and not that he was evil and had some kind of pivotal turning moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it was, maybe, and that's the thing, like everything happens in gradients usually. We say we have epiphanies, but sometimes that's just the moment you decide that it's going to be you're going to go in a different direction, that he may have been uncomfortable with how the Terran Empire ran. He may have been good at being an officer in the Terran Empire but not comfortable with how he was, like how you had to be. Until he finally decided like this is not good, and maybe joined up with the rebels, or I mean maybe he didn't at all, and he was just gonna attempt this coup and change everything from the top down.
Yeah, I definitely feel good about your theory. Additionally, because like the best thing that I could think of, if Lorca was a pure bad guy, as soon as they found their way to get back to the mirror universe, his best shot then would have been falling at the knees of the Emperor and saying, hey, look, I brought you this ship that has this spore drive on it. You hook this dude up to it, and you can be anywhere you want to be. Please don't kill me. I effed up before with what I did. I'm very sorry. So, and he didn't do that at all. So I definitely feel like he is at least part of the rebels with everything. So I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Did we cover all the stuff about your theory that you want to go over?
Maybe.
Or at least enough for now, and we can bounce back to it if we need to?
Yeah, sure. I will. I think I'll share. Hopefully she'll. What?
Well, I don't know.
What?
I was getting nervous.
I know. Don't worry. Our friend who is staying with us had
we're
a
jumping
theory.
on to other theories?
No, it's another theory, but for Lorca.
Oh, okay.
Like she thought that perhaps Lorca is this. She like not thinking that Lorca was actually from this universe, that he was actually original Lorca.
Okay.
And that Lorca in this universe is actually the Emperor. Like that would be, and then that's why like Stamets keeps saying, "Don't go to the palace," because like as soon as they show up, they'll be like, "Bah."
Well, and so kill the Emperor.
I think I explained that right. I'm sorry if I didn't explain that right.
Well, if not, she'll
But
let us know in
It
chat.
was a theory, and it sounded better than I think I just explained it when it was explained to me.
You probably missed something terribly important in there.
Might have.
Yeah. Now, what would be really cool is if the Lorca that we know is the Mirror Universe Lorca, and he is also the faceless Emperor, and he's doing this like the king and commoner's clothing thing.
Oh, yeah.
To weed out all the rebels. Oh, that would be awesome, and he kills everyone.
Whoa.
That's almost as outlandish as Burnham being.
There's so many. Like it's like we're at the beginning again, and so there's like all of these things that could happen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, they're what they established in the first, 9 episodes is still important, and they did inform. I think they did inform how this is going to go, and it brings us to one of the other things that we did want to talk about was that I believe that the Emperor is actually Captain Georgiou.
Oh, we're jumping to more theories.
Yeah. I mean, it makes the most sense, especially because Michael Burnham is our lead. She is the one who is anchoring the show.
Run Georgiou through.
And yes, absolutely. I mean, it was. Here is this person who was her captain, a mother figure that she loved. As she was trying to reestablish her humanity after having been raised by Vulcans, and who she, as first officer, was unable to protect. First officers tend to have that feeling like their number one job is to protect their captain, and she didn't do that. She lost her captain. It's just like the number one shame for first officers, and I mean she was agonized. It was agonizing for her. It was heartbreaking when she, especially when she was beamed over and couldn't bring her body back. Like you saw the pain that she felt there. So having to have her face Georgiou, and I think it's important. I think this is why it was important that they called her the first mutineer, like that. It was very specific into her, having to defy her captain and then having lost her, because I think it's going to as they move forward, I think she's going to have to infiltrate the palace and present herself as her Burnham. And so she's then going to actually have to mutiny. Like she's going to have to actually defy her. And we already saw how agonizing it was for her to fight Connor, who was, someone under her command, but he, just an ensign who, I mean, obviously she felt responsible for, but wasn't not nearly as emotionally tied to Georgiou. So I think seeing Philippa again, and then having to basically probably kill her, because I assume that the Georgiou in this universe is going to be like evil through and through, since the original.
Faceless Emperor.
Oh yeah. It's I think that is I feel just as strongly about this as I did that Vok was Tyler. Tyler was Vok.
Yeah, I feel almost certain about that as well. I still hold that there is a 0.001% chance that their version of Admiral Cornwell is the Emperor, because that still holds a possibility, and it would be more meaningful to Lorca.
Yes, but Lorca isn't our main character. He's an interesting one, man. I mean, he's done really well, and I think he is a gem in the show that is and amazing.
Only around for this season.
Yeah. And so I definitely think so. But Michael Burnham is our lead, and I think that her journey, to find her humanity and to find her own identity is definitely going to lead her. And it's going to bookends the show. It started with her and Captain Georgiou and her losing her, and it's I think going to end with her having to face off or resolve the conflict in the mirror universe.
Yeah, and it helps make it way more clear why they led the series off the way they did with those prologue episodes. Because without that, like at the time, like by the time we got into episode 4, I'm like, why the hell we need those prologue episodes? We didn't need those, and every week they're showing us more and more. Here's why you needed it, dumbass. We were trying to tell a complete story.
Yeah,
and
I think
everything.
That's why
trust us. Now I trust you.
Trust us. I think that's why it was so important that they lay so much blame at her feet. Yeah. That it was like she started this war, and I think even in the bookend mirror way, she's gonna help end the conflict in the mirror universe. Like there's an obvious rebellion going on, and she'll be able to help heal that universe. I feel like that's it. I feel very. Like I said, I feel very in tune with the show. Like I feel connected to it, and
all right,
I know
let's
it's
slow down.
So gushy, but I just it's I think it's full of a lot of meaning and great character development, great introspection, into the characters, and helps you do introspection on yourself. Do introspection.
Do introspection.
You should do it. Do
All
it.
right. So I'm going to auger around in a little bit to Georgiou being the emperor again. But the only other person I've seen online suggested as being the emperor has been Harry Mudd.
But he's not.
Why not?
Because this is mirror universe. So, original universe, Harry Mudd is self-serving and selfish and narcissistic. So mirror universe is going to be altruistic and a good guy. So he's going to be the leader of the rebellion.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That couldn't possibly happen.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
Oh, if it does, Tuesday, January 19th at 10:14 p.m., we called it. Yes. That'd be nice.
Absolutely. I think we know that he's in more episodes.
Yeah.
And so I could see that happening. I could definitely.
And if it doesn't, I'm going to be so pissed off because in the regular universe, I don't want to see Harry Mudd in the regular universe anymore, at least for this season, because they, like, when they stopped him from blowing up the ship and all, they just gave him to his soon-to-be wife or wife, whatever, and said, just keep him out of our hair. And it's like, he just like blew up the ship constantly over and over again, and you guys just go away. Come on. I mean, I'm all about trying to make the show feel more Trek and all of the happy endings and not seeking vengeance on people. And yeah, it was rough when Lorca left him in the thing, but that's still a little bit too much to just let him go. And so if they did let him go and he comes back at them in the regular universe, I'm gonna call shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. So there was that. I have a slight suspicion, because one of the big backlash things that a lot of the people have said against the show has been how they abuse canon. That there's now another sibling for Spock, and the uniforms and the technology seems so much more advanced. And of course, we do have this spore drive that is something that we never heard of before. And the Klingons look so different, and the Klingons have cloaking stuff at a point when they shouldn't. And so that a lot of those are discussions that people have had. So I think that there's a possibility that we have one universe here, which is where the show has been, and now they're in this universe here, which is the mirror universe. And then once they get out of this mirror universe in 2 or 3 episodes, they come back to what really is the prime universe. And they're saying, and then they're all like, oh, well, we almost got home, all right. But now all our spore drive is burned out, and then they're where they are, and that would explain all the canon things. Like, they come back, and the first ship that they see is a Constitution class ship, and they do a visual thing, and they throw up the visual, and it's all the old school stuff that we're used to. People go apeshit crazy and lose their minds and be happy. And we know they're going to have those sets because they're going to be going to look and try and find the Defiant. Which is, we had a question in the chat from my brother about, was this about the USS Defiant being around? All right, I'm going to run with this, if you don't mind.
Okay. Are we going to tell everything, or are we just going to say why we mentioned it?
Well, just a quick thing on the history of the Defiant. Is that okay?
Well, I haven't watched the Enterprise episode, and I would like to watch it and put it together, but I mean, if you want to, and we're also running long, so I would rather if he wants to discover why, but you can tell him why we. All right, why
Thursday or Friday, we're gonna put out a special episode that won't be live, but it'll be a special primer. Oh yeah, look for that, a little primer on why they're looking for the Defiant. Yeah, added content. All right, so good point. Way to rein me in, not producer.
But Mike, to answer your question in the short, they detected, or they found in the databank that they had pulled from some Klingon raider that the Defiant had shown up in the mirror universe, and at some point, it's a Constitution class Defiant, not like any of the future Defiants that we know of. And so they're going to go and find out how the Defiant did that, because they don't think their spore drive is going to work again. So they want to get out of the universe, and they're going to see if the Defiant has the key to getting out and getting back home. That is why we mentioned Defiant.
All right. Yeah. And so So that Thursday, that special thing we're going to do is just going to be a whole Black Alert episode. It's going to be awesome. We're jumping right into Black Alert. All
One of the
right.
things I know I didn't
Oh,
have
we're
in the
running
notes.
long, so Adam can't talk his stuff, but you can. No, I'm just kidding.
One of the things that I wanted to note that I started to mention about was when they were talking on After Trek about the mycelium network and Dr. Paul Stamets. They mentioned that book in relation to the fact that Dr. Culber
Oh, yeah, that's
is
right. We
not
did talk about that.
100% dead.
Yeah, those were the exact words, too. Not 100%
Not
dead.
100% dead, and mushrooms are the answer. Like, that was pretty much what they said.
Yeah.
So, I either Stamets... I don't know. I don't know what the answer is going to be. Maybe they find another version of him, or...
And they did also specifically say that they're not going to find a mirror universe version of him.
Yeah.
Because, and it's a smart decision, I think. They want to keep him as a pure good character, and we don't want to see an evil version of him.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that. Although his pre-production uniform looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, so it is going to be something that's why now I'm gonna run right out and read this book on mushrooms, because I want to find out the part where you can bring people back from the dead using mushrooms.
I mean, it is science fiction. So
Science fiction.
I still think most likely they're going to find a way to tie it in that Stamets is going to be able to use the mycelial network to find him somewhere. Because I think that his line to him, saying I'm right here next to you and I'm not going anywhere, I think that's going to end up being important. Like his soul is tied to his soul, and like they can find a port in the network or something.
Yeah, I liked how I mentioned it to I'm not saying your name. You can tell me later if I can say your name. To our friend, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I know he wasn't dead." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Psh, they're not gonna kill the cutest, first gay prominent couple on Star Trek." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but George R. R. Martin has ruined me for falling in love with characters and then being killed." And she goes, "It's Star Trek." And I was like, "Yeah,
well, they killed Giorgio.
That's
and,
true.
And
yes,
the Cylon girl,
but." Oh yeah, but we weren't attached to the Cylon girl. She deserved to be killed. She was stupid, and Georgia was a death that was needed, and it was early for a reason. But Culber was developed, and we fell in love with their love, and that was awesome, and so like for him to die, and I was shocked and saddened, but because I really do appreciate shows that do that to me sometimes, because it does deepen the meaning around other things. I was accepting. Like I was like, well, okay, then if that had to happen, it had to happen. But I'm much happier for him to stay around. I mean, I do want their love story to be a positive, not a tragedy. So I'm very happy about that, and I want to know how mushrooms make it happen.
I don't know. I still think we're gonna get scene after scene of Stamets just with Culber's body in their quarters, and he's just brushing his teeth for him. It finally ends when the pressure snaps the top part of his skull off, and it just rolls away.
I think Wilson Cruz had said something along the lines of either his favorite scene that he's ever done in all of his acting career,
25 years,
20 of acting, is coming up.
Yeah.
So, and of course, my immediate thought, I was like, it's the one where you don't have to move at all, and he's just holding you right.
Yeah. Well, but and
the best paycheck ever.
See, he said that earlier in the discussion, and is like that could very easily be just a flashback thing when Stamets wakes up. But then later on, when I forget her name, I'm sorry, the other producer. If we were good at this, we would have all the names written down over here somewhere for us. But when she said that he's not 100% dead, then that was like, oh yeah, that's okay.
All right,
done
for the win. So yeah, I definitely wanted to mention that because yay.
All right.
If you really want to know things, After Trek is the way to go,
yeah,
because
really
they told us a lot this week. I felt like they kept saying things, and I was like, "What? You're just telling us this?"
That's
it was
why
after 9 episodes of just teasing and this and that, and it was like good content that they were giving us. This one just felt like, oh my gosh. When they confirmed that he wasn't 100% dead, I was like, oh, you're just going to, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think that they were worried about backlash about
a little bit,
killing
too. I do believe that, too.
Yeah.
But,
All right.
good.
All right. We are now officially leaving Black Alert. And if I had been really smart, I would have some kind of wrap-up segment down there. What should we name our wrap-up segment? Let us know. Something along the lines of what we've already had. No curse words, please. No Warp 13. That's not necessary.
Maybe just something like stand down. Stand down from Black Alert.
Full stop.
Full stop. Reverse engines.
Nah, all that seems too boring. Anywho, all right, we're going to try and get out of here before an hour and a half. So we are going to say bye now. And I really do want to come back and do something after you've... So that's your assignment for tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to watch the Enterprise shows? Or tonight?
Is it a two-parter? You keep saying shows.
Yeah,
okay.
Unfortunately.
All right.
But they go quick.
That's fine.
All right. Okay, well, I think that we've covered everything. Please, any questions or any theories you like to talk about, anything with the thing, Corpulent Geek on the Twitters. And check out our other YouTube videos, especially our cool ones that we have somewhere where we talk about all these theories that came to pass. And we were like, they're revealing everything, and we're so happy. Yeah, and corporategeek.com doesn't really have too much yet, so don't go there expecting giant swaths of stuff. And hopefully we're gonna push his podcast out there. So if you're listening to this podcast somehow, you came across that, search for me on YouTube, and you'll find this nifty content. And thank you very much. And my lovely wife is gonna say goodbye for us.
Goodbye for us.